Welcome to Growing Pains, a podcast of the Sumner County Republican Freedom Caucus. I'm your host, Deanne DeWitt, and today we are joined by Chief Academic Officer for Sumner County Schools, Frankie Skinner. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, good. You should be, because there's lots of exciting things to talk about, especially in the space of education in our schools. As our county continues to grow, our schools really are in the middle of great opportunity and great scrutiny, and I'm sure you see the yin and yang of that every day. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. But let's start with you. You've been Chief Academic Officer for like 3-4 years. How long has it been?
2 years.
Oh, 2.
But before that was the Director of Instruction for 2 years. So similar roles, a little bit different structure. But
tell us about your path to this role and why education has been at the heart of what you have done with your life's pursuit.
So I was a teacher for 17 years. I've taught second grade, third grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, spent most of my time in third grade. And I was also a high school cheerleading coach. That was a new endeavor for me as a young teacher. One of my first jobs I got, comes with a coaching package sometimes. So a lot of my career spent with kids in classrooms. It's where my heart lies, obviously. And I had a mentor kind of instill in me or push me to do a leadership role in the district. So I became an instructional coach after some work that I did at the state level. And that was the first time I really started working with adults. I did that for a couple years, and doors keep opening and new challenges keep coming in front of me. So then I got to be at the central office as an elementary coordinator for a couple of years. And then I was a federal program supervisor for a couple of years.
What's a federal program?
So that part is like we have 15 Title I schools in our county, economically disadvantaged populations, not the entire school, but part of the school. And so we get federal funding for that, and those dollars have to be managed at the district level across 16 schools. So it's almost like running a mini school district. You have a budget, you're leading principals, you're making curriculum decisions. It's above and beyond what the district provides with those federal dollars to meet the needs of those students.
Got it.
And then I went into Director of Instruction, and then now Chief Academic Officer.
Well, my guess is the sky is the limit, and you will continue to take on new opportunities and new challenges. There is a lot of growing opportunity. I've said that. Obviously, it's a growing community. But with that, as you've seen all this growth and change, maybe help frame the rest of the conversation too about what are some of your guiding principles in leadership, in service, kind of what's at the heart of all of those things you just talked about doing?
Well, I think our mission in education is to develop students or people, everyone around us in education, to be better people for a better world. And so the opportunities that we provide our adults and our students should prepare them to be a better person for the people that we serve. Service heart. Completely. I hope I model that for others, and especially for our kids. We are grounded and rooted in those 4 core values: humility, growth mindset, humble, and bought into the mission. And so if you're bought into the mission, we're going to serve others. We're going to be kind. We're going to lead with curiosity.
Yeah. And is it One Sumner, or what's the name of the?
One Sumner. So we have a lot of schools, and so 52 principals, different personalities, different buildings. And so these are our kids, all of them in Sumner County. And obviously we have school spirit, and we want all of those things to happen, but they're Sumner County kids, not Hendersonville High School or Union Elementary. Sumner County kids, they're all of ours, and we want them all to be successful.
Well, as you look at kind of the strategic plan and where Sumner County Schools is headed, what would you say are some of the top priorities that are driving some of the conversations right now? That's kind of big picture, and we'll go from there and narrow it down. And maybe that's too big picture to.
Well, I think that there's a lot of conversation around the experiences that we give our students. There are so many jobs and opportunities that they just don't know about, or our parents don't even know about. The world is changing with artificial intelligence and all the jobs that's going to bring. And so looking at a lens of how many opportunities can we give our kids so that they have a plethora of experiences before leaving us to make career decisions. That starts as early as kindergarten, and thinking about, how do we interact with others? How do we speak in a professional way? How do I learn information? How do I, do all of those, what do they call them? Soft skills, professional skills, to help me be successful as I'm growing up. And that starts as soon as they come to us.
Amazing Shake comes to mind when you were just talking about that program. I've been exposed to it as a volunteer, and
were you at Ellis?
I was at Ellis.
Yeah.
Yep. A couple times. Now they've done it for the last couple of years.
I think this is their 5th year. This is the first year that they've actually taken, I think they took their top 3 winners to Atlanta to the competition down there. So they built up to doing that. But so they started small and over time it's gotten bigger and better. Really amazing program, grounded in exactly what we're just talking about.
And they're not the only school in Sumner County that's done
Howard Elementary's done it. Union Elementary's done it a couple times. I believe there's one other middle school that's either started or is going to start. And I think it's in Portland maybe. But yeah, it's really, I had lunch. The final competition was a lunch at Bluegrass Country Club. And we were to engage in conversation with them, look at how they interacted with us, their manners while they were eating. Did they wait till everybody got their food? They were amazing. It was 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And the conversation was still just blow your minds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They, I don't know why this one's going to stand out, but it was one of the many steps of the process to find those exceptional ones that were going to go to state. But there was a scenario where I was watching the interaction between the student who was a thespian, right? So he had half of his face he had distorted, right? It had scars and all these things, and he was having to have this conversation with somebody who had just walked in and never seen, that side of his face before. I'm not explaining this well. Nevertheless, what I'm getting at is just
he had to have a conversation.
The creativity, the ability to flow with whatever somebody throws at you. And middle school's awkward, those are not easy things to do at that age.
Those are things that happen. Those conversations happen. Awkward moments happen. Something surprises you that you're not ready for. And the way you respond to those things are important, and skills that I think are important that our kids are exposed to.
Absolutely. That's, I'm going to go down a different path right now just because of what we're talking about. But I think it's one of the challenges I think society is facing right now, because tough conversations should happen more often. Instead we maybe interact by typing things out and expressing our feelings. And that's not how everybody interacts, but there is a lot of that. And so conversations and really knowing how to provide your point of view and listen and learn and come up with finding the common ground, right? And just working things out.
I think relationships matter. Tough conversations are hard, but when you have a relationship or you have a heart for, or you just treat others with kindness, right? And they know that's who you are as a person, then hard conversations aren't as hard. You have to say the hard things and think through it. But when you have relationships out there, I think it's easier.
Really good point. Some of your background, early literacy, that was, I don't remember exactly, but was that part of maybe your thesis or some of the work you've done?
Well, we rolled out the foundational curriculum here in Sumner County when I was an elementary coordinator. So boots on the ground with that work, with the Foundations curriculum, KT Foundation, Wit and Wisdom curriculum, that all's kind of a package deal. But we ran that development here. Natalie Wexler came. I'm drawing a blank on the reading, science of reading. Thank you. I don't know why I was drawing a blank. Science of reading. So it was a shift in the way we teach literacy, more about going deeper with content instead of shorter stories. And then the foundational literacy piece, connecting the letter sounds and things that they're learning to the content that they're learning for comprehension. That's it in a nutshell. A lot more complex than that, but it was a shift for our teachers and a shift for our kids, but it's paying off.
Well, that's where I'm headed.
Yeah.
Talk about the progress that you see happening in those areas.
We consistently improve scores 3 to 5% typically on state assessments year over year. Sometimes we may go back a half a percentage or a percent, but typically we do improve. So last year in middle school, with Course Mojo, was its a literacy program paired with our reading curriculum. has an AI function that gives students immediate feedback.
Wow.
They grew 8%, which is double our normal growth. And then it reduced the gap between our special ed students and our regular ed students by 11%, which is almost unheard of.
Wow.
And so I share that because the work that was done previous to those middle schoolers getting there and then having that immediate feedback is paying off in the long run. It takes a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of the conversation dwells on third grade reading level. There's a lot there, but the things you're doing to impact third grade reading level, it takes years to see, but you're harnessing that growth when you look at the middle
And there's
school.
a lot into that. It goes into that ELA assessment for reading. So I always want to tell people, look at our science scores too, because you have to read to be able to comprehend and understand the science material. And so a lot of the ELA portion of the test, yes, it's about reading, but it's also about comprehension and time management and a lot of other things, not just reading. And so looking at the whole big picture, I think, is important when we're looking at scores.
Totally. Maybe we don't need to dwell on this too much, but I do know that, the third grade reading level, that number is out there and it's often talked about. And some might just peel off the statistic. All right, this is what Sumner County's level is. Can you just talk about that for a second? Because the growth in that number is monumental. But then also, we're not alone. Sumner County is not the only district that isn't performing off the charts yet, because this has been not just a statewide issue either.
Right.
So just talk a little bit about.
Typically, Sumner County performs in the top 3 or 4. Like I said, we kind of go back and forth some. The state's
Of the state.
Yes.
Sumner County.
The state's goal is that all third graders will be reading on grade level 75 or at the 75% of them. So we have goals set for that. And they're charted out over a 5-year period, and we have to implement things or do things differently when we get data back. But we have Summer Scholars Program. It's actually coming up, starting for summer, and our third graders will have the opportunity, if they don't meet certain benchmarks, to be part of that program so that they are able to be promoted to the next grade. We've had, I may be off on my numbers, but I'm going to tell you it's less than 5 who haven't been promoted to the next grade level. So our teachers and our leaders and our district level people, they work really, really hard to make sure that third graders are where they're supposed to be so they can be promoted.
That's really important, and I don't know that has ever been reported publicly. So I don't know. I'm glad we're talking about it, because I think there is a lot of misunderstanding.
There's a lot of pressure that comes with that for third grade parents, third grade students. But our staff, our students, our leaders, they're very, very good at what they do, and they're going to do everything possible to get kids ready.
Yeah, and getting them ready is the foundation they need to continue to be successful. So it's not about it's it's one of these topics that I think is it's been emotional, and it's been something that's hard to comprehend, the big picture.
Yeah.
And I think that's what often gets lost in these little, like I said, kind of just pluck
Nuggets
off the detail and say, oh, well, we're not quite where we want to be. Well, nobody is where we should be. We all need to do some work in this space.
Obviously, we always want to get better and better with everything that we do.
Okay, so I think I've heard you say that student success starts with supporting teachers. So talk a little bit about what that looks like in practice and, kind of across our district.
So we offer professional learning, of course. We try to keep it simple. So right now, for teachers and leaders, we are focusing on 3 things: high quality materials, collaborative planning, and coaching and feedback. So wraparound supports for leaders and teachers are all grounded in those 3 things. So we have Drive coming up at the beginning of the school year, where we have a 3-day leadership conference for teachers and leaders that are wrapped around those 3 areas. Our Sumner Leadership Conference, that's for leadership teams, principals, coaches, assistant principals, and sometimes they bring a couple other team members. It's a 2-day conference that we hold at Liberty Creek High School. Again, we'll be grounded in those 3 areas. And then their strategic plan and all the work that they do for scores and testing and preparing is wrapped in those 3 areas. So we try to streamline, we try to keep it simple, and try to support those 3 areas because they impact a lot. So high quality materials, we want good stuff in front of our kiddos, research-based, evidence-based, stuff that works, obviously. Collaborative planning is where teachers meet and plan lessons together so that we're teaching the same content, not necessarily the same way. Everybody has their own personality, but delivering the same materials and the same content. So all is equity piece. And also teachers can internalize the lesson and be awesome teachers, which they are. And then the coaching and feedback is not what are you not doing? It's celebrating the good things that are happening, giving feedback to get better, because we always want to get better and improve our craft.
Yeah. And on the collaboration piece, there's a lot of, I think, interesting interdisciplinary education that's happening, and it's happening earlier and earlier, I think, in our schools. Is that my perception, or is there some truth to that?
So I would say all of our leaders make time in their schedules for their teachers to collaborate. It gets a little bit trickier, actually, as they get older, because in high school, you have so many different subjects. They might not have a collaboration partner, right? If you think about CTE and it's one area, they might not have a second CTE teacher. And so we try to provide virtual plannings or things like that, where they can have a partner to just, plan with, because that's helpful. So it actually gets more challenging in high school to provide that time and a partner. So your core subjects that are tested, math, those are, I won't say it's easy, but it's easier than some of the other subjects that there may be only one or two sections of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So you mentioned CTE. So let's just embrace what I think is some of the most exciting things that are happening. Real world readiness is something that we're all kind of starting to tune into more and more. And I say we all, because I think one of the, again, could be my perception, but I think parents, they're still trying to grasp this idea of what is career and technical education. And Sumner County is doing it, and doing it so extraordinarily well, and creating these pathways for students. So along these lines, what do you see? What do you think is most exciting about this space? And then let's also talk about, the parents and what they can start to open their eyes to in these opportunities.
We have a lot of CTE pathways. We used to be number one. If we're not number one now, we're still really close. But Chase Moore is going to kill me if I don't get the number right, because I ask him all the time. But I think it's 42 different pathways. And obviously with the Innovation Center opening, there's going to be more opportunity. It is so very critical. That's the classes that kids love. They're hands-on. It's not lecture style. Typically, there is some book work with it, but they're getting out and doing real world activities, and that excites students. They get to. We build beds. We learn how to give blood pressure. We sew things. It's really that aspect of doing by learning, I think, is the CTE, and you can make some really good money in some of these CTE fields. And so there's a narrative out there that CTE is different than academics. I actually don't think it is. I think our job is to show and give kids these experiences. And there are different pathways. Same job could require some college level experience, depending on how far you want to go, right? So maybe if it's an entry level job, you don't need that. But if you want to do something different as you get older, you may need that. And so academics and CTE should travel together, not separately. And I hope that makes sense.
No, totally. I think, actually, we were just kind of talking about this collaboration and how interdisciplinary studies becomes more challenging in high school. But these CTE programs are areas where you're kind of marrying all these things in one place. You've got to have the ability to comprehend and communicate, and then perform in a lot of them, and
reflect. I think that's a piece sometimes that we miss. We need to teach kids how to fail forward, and the CTE spaces are perfect places to do that, where it doesn't feel as detrimental, I guess.
Yeah. So the Innovation Center, we talked to Scott probably about 6 months or so ago on this podcast, but a lot's happened and since that conversation. So
kids are there.
Tell us about what's happening.
Yeah, we have our leadership class there, and we have a criminal justice class there. The neatest thing about the Innovation Center, right now we have aviation too, but the neatest thing that I've loved so far is walking in those classrooms, and we ask like who's represented in the room. Every single high school was represented for aviation, except for Liberty Creek, because Liberty Creek has an aviation program housed in their building.
Right.
So the opportunity that students all over the district get to have that experience is super cool. And to see them learn from each other and meet new people and interact with people from different high schools has been really rewarding for students and really rewarding for us to see. So they're making connections that they would never make before. And you just kind of stay in your bubble in your high school with your own friends. And so they are actually being, even though it's class, they are being put in the situations that we want them to thrive in, them to get to know someone. They may be the only person there from their school, so they have to make new friends. They have to work on a team to do these projects. They have to collaborate with brand new people. So that's really exciting.
Oh my goodness. The thing that was so cool about it at first, in my opinion, is because that building was the
it's
coolest building in
amazing.
Sumner County.
Yeah, beautiful. You feel more professional when you walk in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what you just described is really what's most important. But talk a little bit about the facilities, because obviously not everybody's had a chance to see what's there. And I've heard some comments from students, like the things that like when they walk in, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm
It's a
gonna learn.
very large space in general. So a lot of the Bay areas where they are giant spaces, and so we want to make collaborative spaces that don't necessarily feel like a classroom,
Right.
And that's in the works. So that's not there yet. But the Smith family was gracious enough to leave us like all the furniture. So we've used a ton of their furniture to make the classroom spaces, and very grateful for their generosity. But we're working on. We have some couches, we have some hangout spaces, we have some collaborative spaces. They're together in a big group, and then they have all kinds of little conference rooms where they can pair off and get in smaller teams and then come back together. The space is amazing. You feel like you're not even in the city. Like you walk down in there, it's in the kind of in the woods, and you see deer, and the windows are beautiful. My favorite view is upstairs to the left. You see all the trees. Yeah, the windows are floor to ceiling, and you see all the trees, and it's just beautiful.
I thought you were going to say your favorite view is of the pond that connects the two buildings.
That is a fun space too. So we had middle schoolers come and like clean it up to get it ready for spring. And we were convinced that they were going to roll down the hill in the water, but they did not. They did not. They cleaned up the space very nicely, and it looks great. And we're ready. I'm excited to see what kind of flowers are going to grow there.
Oh, that's
because we don't know yet. We haven't seen it with it blooming.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
so the bulbs or whatever it is.
I'm sure it's going to be beautiful.
Oh, it is. I mean, and I heard somebody talking about one of the students that walked in and said, "There's a fireplace."
There are 2 giant fireplaces, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Okay, so let's see if we can kind of explain why do those things matter, right? Because working in a beautiful space, not just so you're, posh and you get to go work in a fancy place. Like, what does that do to the brain? What is that? Can you touch on what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of like that dress for success, right? Like when you are dressed and ready, you feel better about yourself. You have more confidence. When you're in a space like the Innovation Center, I think it just opens up creativity.
Thank you.
I mean, it just gets your brain clicking in that way, gets you thinking and problem solving. And so I when you treat kids like professionals, they act like professionals, which is also amazing to see. Sometimes you're like, are they really 17? Like they have such creative ideas and things that you don't think of. And that space gives them the ability to say it, right? They say all the things and not scared. It's the space to be like, I think this, or I don't think that. We had a group of students come to us, a couple months ago. 2 girls came to Dr. Langford and I and voiced a concern that they had. And I won't say what the concern was, but we worked together with them. We came to a proposed solution. They were like, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. And we're like, you're not hurting someone's feelings. This clear is kind. And this is leadership, right? You're in the leadership class. You saw an issue. You wanted to solve it. You came to people to help you. And now we're proposing a solution. So you don't need to feel bad about that. That's leadership. Congratulations. You're going to remember this forever.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
There's a project that's being tackled by the leadership project or the leadership class there. What is that?
So Sumner Gives Back is an initiative we did a couple years ago where we feel like our students are given so much. We want to teach them to give back to their community. So a couple years ago, well, I will say it started probably maybe 3 years ago, my department, when I was the director of instruction, one of my goals that year was for us to be servant leaders. And so all of my team served in a school of their choice 1 day a month as a teacher. Two reasons for that. A lot of times people are like central office, people forget what it feels like to be a teacher. So if we teach 10 times a year, then we're going to be grounded in that work. So that was the service, and then being connected to the work was the purpose of that. That led into Sumner Gives Back on a bigger scale, where we asked all of our schools to commit to a service project, and we all went out in the community on the same day. And then Dr. Holt at Liberty Creek had a similar experience for his kids at Liberty Creek High School. And so these young women had the idea, they loved it so much, they did something that was meaningful, that they wanted to provide meaningful service hour opportunities for their peers. And then it became bigger, and they wanted to provide it for across the district. So the Tennessee Promise is you have to do 8 service hours. That is increasing to 16. So their idea was to create an app where students could get on the app and see what service hours are available and then sign up for those. And so reaching out to nonprofit, for-profit, churches, figuring out what opportunities are out there that students can serve and have choice and be meaningful. So they're working on that. They've met with Hands On Nashville. They've partnered with a couple other people. And this is going to become a reality. They're also going to work with Vol State students to actually create the app. And that's been learning for all of us. So you have a great idea, but you don't know how to do all the things. And so you have to figure out who you have to talk to, who has to develop something for you, and then share in your vision, which can be complicated sometimes because you know what you want in your head, but sometimes it's hard to articulate. Right. And so you have to really work closely with someone to get it right. But they're digging in. We're so excited about that. So proud of them.
Outstanding. Well, I know as you were talking, you saw me, I was kind of getting teary-eyed because I do get really excited about the kinds of things that these opportunities that are being created for students. So, and
you've probably done lots of service projects. It really does fill your cup too. Mm-hmm. And I want our students to have that feeling. Yeah. It's not about you all the time. It can be about others, and it actually feels great.
It does. Yeah. And it lasts. And it does. Yeah. Okay. Now we're both getting verklempt. Yeah. Okay. So we'll kind of get closer to wrapping this up. What is it that really, motivates you in this work, and what excites you about the future of this community?
What motivates me is changing lives and making them better, and providing experiences for students where they want to come back here and be productive citizens in the community that they came from. That's probably my whole being, is to pour into these kiddos at a high level so that they come back and raise their families here. I love Sumner County. Been here for 30 years. It's a great place to be. And I want I want them to come back and live here.
Yeah. You answered both those questions. So if there's one thing that parents could do to help realize some of that vision, is there anything on your heart there that you would want to prioritize in this conversation? Because it always takes a village.
It does take a village. I would say one thing. I would say probably slow down and help provide as many experiences as possible, and not just one area, so that there's a broader understanding of what the world can offer you. And I love sports. I love theater. I love music. I love all of those things. But well-rounded students, I think is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Frankie Skinner, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
You are delightful. Until next time.